Hey everyone, welcome back to episode 11 of the Noor Podcast this year. Today we have a really cool guest. His name is Benjamin Lang. He was the valedictorian of the Engineering Cohort of the year 2022, the year I graduated in. And he was graciously happy enough to say yes to coming and being a guest on today's episode. We're just having a chat to him about his journey through high school and through university and the process and journey of him becoming valedictorian and why he did it, what motivated him, what techniques he used to get there, and some advice that he gives for university students that are in uni right now. It was such an interesting conversation, and I can't wait for all of you to hear it. I just want to firstly, before we jump right into it, say that it is a huge help to us if you subscribe and follow to our content. If you are enjoying, please leave a comment on what you think of the episode, any feedback that you have for us. We have seen really good growth over the last couple of months of this podcast, and we're keen to keep showing you the amazing people of Adelaide that we have here. Thank you again for all the support, and let's get right into the episode. Ben.
Yes.
Hi.
Hello.
First of all, I wanted to say a huge thank you for coming down and agreeing to do this.
Oh, good.
I know this is intimidating and you kind of don't know what you're stepping into, but you were brave and did it. So
Yeah.
I genuinely think a lot of people will really love this conversation. I had a chat to some people, even just at work, and said, this is kind of what we're talking about and about like universities and how to do well. I mean, not really how to do well, but your experience at least.
Yeah, sure,
And everyone's keen to listen, so
Okay, cool.
it's gonna be cool. So Ben, before we get straight into that,
Yep.
do you want to tell me a little bit about like high school, your journey into university?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think like I kind of got into high school and towards the end, like it gets to that point where you kind of need to start deciding like what final year subjects you want to do and what like uni courses and stuff. I feel like I had a lot of stuff that I was pretty interested in. I don't know, I was considering like med, like psychology, like law and all this kind of stuff. Well, really wasn't sure what I wanted to do. But I'd always like really enjoyed maths and that kind of thing. And I think mum kind of encouraged me to like go towards that STEM kind of area. And so like I chose like maths, physics and all that and ended up going into engineering at uni.
Why did you specifically? So you.
I feel like, because I enjoyed both maths and physics, and then I kind of had it in my head that like maths, you're not gonna, I didn't really know what careers there were in maths necessarily, whereas I feel like engineering, it's much more defined and that kind of thing. And so, yeah, I kind of went for that, I suppose.
Yeah.
It seemed to align best with my interests and that kind of thing. I think I went with mechanical over electrical as well. Those were the kind of two I was tossing up. I don't know, I feel like mechanical is so much more physical and real and you can see it in front of you, which is cool. Whereas I feel like electrical, you're kind of looking at a circuit and don't know what's going on necessarily. Some electrical engineers probably do, but I feel like that was something that I couldn't necessarily get past.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I did mechatronics, I did both. But
yeah, true.
I always found the electrical side more challenging because it's invisible, you know?
Yeah.
But,
No, that's cool.
So university, and so you did mechanical engineering.
Yep.
How did you find it at uni?
Pardon?
How did you find it?
I found it pretty good. I mean, I did a double with mathematics as well. And so I think I kind of realized through uni that like, I kind of wanted to pursue that math side a bit more because essentially how I did it was like do engineering for 3 years, then you have a year of maths and then you do your final year of engineering.
Oh, so in 5 years you...
Yeah. So like with the double, it turns out to be 5 years. With,
Yeah.
like engineering honors and then like a double with maths and that kind of thing.
Oh, cool.
And I kind of found that I enjoyed that
Yeah.
maths side a bit more in that 1 year.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I found it pretty enjoyable. I mean, I quite enjoy university and like learning subjects in that way anyway. I feel like, I don't know, I feel like people are different experiences and that kind of thing. Some people really enjoy uni and some people are pretty keen to like just get out.
That was me.
Kind of yeah. Why? What didn't you enjoy about it necessarily?
I'm a very practical person. But I mean, reflecting on my university experience, I I learn best and I do my work best by failing quickly.
Right, okay.
And so just like, I want to do something, submit it, fail, figure out why I failed, do it again, fail. And then I'll get there and I'll produce something good, but it takes iteration. I'm a very iterative person. But I found the university process kind of needs you to not do that and get it right the first time.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, you kind of
you gotta submit it once.
Yeah, you have to succeed the first time. I mean, I suppose it's different with like practice questions and that kind of thing, but you don't really get that, especially in the later years.
Yeah, but then even then, like in real life, when you work in industry, you are doing the final work, but you get to fail multiple times.
Yeah.
And I say fail not after you deliver, but you get to fail by the fact that I get to ask for feedback from my manager or my tech leads and be like, okay, where did I screw up here?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Next time I won't do that. But that it's very cyclical in nature, where university feels more like a line and you get to the end.
Yeah, and I feel like that's kind of how everyone treats it as well. And I feel like because of that, it produces this atmosphere that you're just doing it to get the marks, I suppose, and not actually learning the content. I feel like I came out of that, out of uni, and I feel like I was like, I don't know, can I remember everything that I did? I don't know. I feel like, a lot of it you are just trying to get it down so that you can get those marks on those assignments and exams and whatnot.
Exactly. Let's take it back a little bit to high school.
Yeah, sure.
And you said you picked university because obviously maths and physics.
Yeah.
That's a very common story for a lot of people, engineers, including myself. Did you know what an engineer was before you?
No, not really. And I think initially I was like pretty put off doing engineering because I did STEM in year 10 where we had to like build like an airplane out of like balsa wood or something like that. And I feel like they kind of just left us to it. And I hated how unstructured that was. So what I built was just absolute crap. Yeah. And like did not fly and that kind of thing. And I was like, this is horrible. I don't want to do this. And I think as well, I also thought that engineering was just building bridges and that kind of thing. And I was like, that doesn't sound as fun to me necessarily. But I think, it was kind of my mum towards the end of high school where I was kind of like umming and ahhing over what I wanted to do. And she was like, well, you like these things. And like, I don't think it's necessarily like just building bridges and that kind of thing. So she kind of convinced me to go into it. And I'm pretty glad that I did.
Something we always say here, and some feedback we've gotten, not some feedback, an observation we've made from talking to a lot of different people is that one of the biggest reasons there's this challenge is that when you're in high school, you have exposure to all these other fields like medicine, doctors, lawyers, all these fields, because you see them in your everyday life. Dentists, you see them in your everyday life, you know who they are, you can put yourself in their shoes. Lawyers, I know it's not so much in a day-to-day, but there's a lot of TV shows, right? Like I've met multiple people that's become a lawyer, chosen their life path because they watch Suits. Literally. But then for engineers, you don't really have anyone.
Yeah, I feel like all through primary school, I really wanted to be an archaeologist because I watched like Indiana Jones. Yeah. And I was like, that must be what archaeology is, like running away from Nazis and that kind of thing and like finding stuff underground. But I think I realized that it's just in the dirt a lot. I don't know.
Hot. Flies.
Respect to archaeologists out there. They must love what they do and that kind of thing.
But obviously, with engineering, there wasn't much. I think it's getting better now.
I feel like people still. I mean, do people ask you like, oh, like what is an engineer and that kind of thing? Because I feel like I still get that.
Solve problems
a lot.
I hated that answer because it was the most vague. I mean, it's true, but like doesn't help me pick a career.
No, exactly. Yeah, it'd be good to have more, especially like SA. I feel like is such a hub for like defense, space as well, just mining as well, and that kind of thing. So many like engineering specialized fields that you'd think that there would be more exposure to almost.
But look, it's an opportunity for us to grow in, if you think of it like that. And I think with SA and with the projects that are coming here, with the industry that's coming here, I think it's definitely going to grow and something that they're going to prioritize.
They definitely seem to be encouraging STEM a lot more. That kind of thing.
So obviously, so that's kind of where you chose it. I'm just curious because this is something we've commonly seen.
Yeah, I feel like it was a pretty common transition to that kind of idea of doing it.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah.
So obviously, you were the valedictorian of my year level, which was the year 2022 at University of Adelaide.
Yeah.
And everyone wants to know. Everyone wants to know how you did it.
How did I do it? Oh.
But let's break it down. I wanted to, so obviously 5 years of uni, 3 years of engineering, 1 year of maths, and then 1 year of honors, right?
Yeah.
How did you find the difficulty of even knowing how to study and how to learn from that transition of 5 years?
Yeah, it's hard. I think like you definitely learn over that time. It is kind of like trial and error for how you should study, especially for exams. I feel like because they're such a big portion of your mark that it takes time through doing them to kind of figure out, okay, this is what works for me, and this is what like gets me the grades that I want and that kind of thing. I think I was decent at studying from the start in terms of, I feel like some of those first year subjects I still did reasonably well at, but I definitely, learnt through some of my mistakes through that. Like, I don't know. Yeah.
Did you find you were academically, like you're good at studying in year 12 as well, like through high school, and then it just carried on? Or how did you find that shift between high school and university?
I think some of the year 12 subjects I found harder than like doing the first year of uni. I think they kind of like padded out a little bit in first year uni, reel you in, and then they like slammed you. Oh, you're in now. You're in too deep. So
yeah, I mean that's why second year and third year has the highest dropout rate, because first year it just
makes
feels,
sense.
Yeah, fair enough. But obviously going from that, so what high school did you go to?
I went to Concordia College.
Oh, Concordia College. Okay.
Yeah.
Is that what kind of school? Like public, private?
So it's a private school. It's in Malvern area, Highgate.
Okay, cool. So obviously, I'm assuming, was it just more like a traditional teaching style with normal teachers? Like when you think of a school, it's...
Yeah, I have to try and think back now. I feel like they were good. I think for some of like some of the specific subjects that I did, I had some really good teachers.
Yeah.
Like my physics teacher especially, she was really great. I think because that transition as well from year 11 to year 12 physics, I feel like is quite a jump compared to a lot of other subjects. At least that's kind of how it was brought to us at Concordia. But and especially I feel like she just had a great way of explaining everything and that kind of thing. I mean, it was mostly just like explain the concepts on the board and then everyone goes and does practice questions. So I feel like that's pretty standard. But I think she was able to explain it really well. And then she also put time aside so that you can come and ask her questions like outside of class and that kind of thing. And I found it pretty supportive because I feel like the first test that I had for physics in year 12, I like kind of bombed a little bit because I feel like I kind of just assumed like, oh, this is going to be like pretty easy.
Yeah.
Like I'd done some of the practice questions. I was like, yeah, that was fine and that kind of thing. Probably didn't practice as much as I should have. And so, I mean, I can't remember what I got, but much lower than I wanted.
Yeah,
and that kind of thing. And so I kind of had like a chat with her after. I was pretty, upset because obviously I wanted to do really well.
Yeah. And it's going towards your ATAR now, like, so you're like, yeah.
I was like, oh, can we shift this grade up or something? But she was kind of like, no, we can't do that. But no, it kind of, that kick started me a bit more to kind of be like, no, I need to like take this more seriously and kind of, I don't know, not be complacent, I suppose.
Yeah,
and I feel like I've had that a lot. Well, that was in high school, but then I've had different moments in uni which kind of have jump-started that again.
Yeah.
Always times where I start to get a bit complacent and then won't do as well in something as I would like. Yeah. And then that kind of motivates me to go harder and that kind of thing.
I've got some questions about uni in a second, but
yeah,
I just want to ask, is there anything that you think your high school, especially in year 12 and year 11 leading up to that university, they could have done better to prepare you for university?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I think it would be nice to have more like careers exposure and that kind of thing for actually choosing. I feel like I thought that a lot because considering I was like having a difficult time choosing. I don't know. I think the system that high school had back then, that worked pretty well for me, because I feel like I'm quite good at like kind of just sitting down and focusing on something, and the whole test procedure, like I'm reasonably good at. Whereas I feel like now they're really trying to change that that process in how they teach, because people learn differently and that kind of thing. And I think the whole idea of tests and stuff is evolving a bit. So I think that's good in that regard. I don't know, like, how did you find your experience in high school, I suppose? Yeah, I'm curious.
Yeah, well, I went to the Australian Science and Mathematics School.
Okay.
So we were not a traditional school at all.
Okay.
So we like casual clothes, called our teachers by our first names. There was no bells in school. Like, it was pretty much just university.
Yeah.
It was trying to emulate university. It was part of Flinders University.
Right, okay.
And I found that it taught me how to be an adult and learn because I needed to learn, not because, learn because I wanted to learn, not because I needed to. However, because there was zero structure and you had the freedom to do whatever you wanted, I feel like at that age, for some people, you need that motivation, that external pressure, maybe from your teachers, or even the expectation for you to be able to show up and do well. That's something that you'll never ask for when you're 16.
Yeah.
But you'll appreciate a lot when you're 22.
Yeah, sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no.
And so there was a very small group of people that did really well in that environment, and they're people that I've observed are very externally motivated already, and internally motivated already, and they already know what they want to do. You know, like I had people that knew they wanted to be a doctor since they were in year 10, and so they're like, all right, I'm here to do this.
How do people know that?
I know, right? So those specific people did really well, right? Because they had the freedom to like do even more than they would have been able to in a normal school. But the majority of people just took it for granted, as kids do. Like, I took it for granted, right?
Yeah.
And I think what I found really hard in year 12, and I can say in uni as well, is that I have this mindset of like minimum viable product for my entire life. So I thought, okay, I'm an engineer. All right, 85 ATAR. All right, it's easy. I did nothing in year 12.
Yeah, right.
I like cruised through.
I feel like I'm the opposite, because I'm like very much a perfectionist. So I was like, no. Like, I'm missing that percent. I need to get that, like that kind of thing. I don't know. I feel like I'm very competitive as well. So that kind of played a part into it.
Makes sense. Yeah. So that's why I was wondering about the differences of, so in my head this actually leads on to my next question, which was, well, obviously you answered it from that point of view in high school. But I was not very competitive. I was always like 85 ATAR, it's fine. It's so easy to get an 85. Yeah. I mean, not for everyone, obviously, but like I definitely could have got more. But I think I got like a 93 after bonus points. I think I got like 90 without bonus points, something like that.
Yeah.
But I like didn't try at all.
Yeah, that's pretty
But I
good
also
then.
didn't need to, you know? Like, that's how my brain works. Even in uni, it was like, oh, okay, what? Everyone tells me 5 GPA or above, I can get a job pretty easily. Yeah, okay. Why do I need to get more than that?
To be honest, I feel like that is...
They didn't even ask for my GPA.
yeah, legit. And so I feel like, I mean, do you need to get the top marks and that kind of thing to be successful in that? I feel like you don't really. I mean, it's kind of up to you.
Yeah.
How you want to go.
That's my question about university, is that from the get-go, what kind of motivated you to try so hard when all evidence and all people around you tell you you don't need to try?
I don't know.
Hard.
I think it is. I am just like really, really competitive, and
who are you competing against?
I don't know. I'm competing with everyone. You're all my competition. No, I don't know. I think that's kind of just my personality. My mum seems to think it's middle child syndrome or something, that I'm just trying to stand out. But no, I think I am just competitive, and I don't know why necessarily I'm like self-motivated. I don't know, I've kind of gotten the idea that like I just want to minimize regret as much as possible. And so I feel like every time that I do poorly in like a test or something, or in life in general, I feel like I feel that so much. I feel that like guilt and regret that I hate to kind of repeat it. And so I feel like in uni, you know it's for a finite amount of time. And I definitely towards the latter part of uni, I think I was kind of like, well, it's only these like 2 years or something left. Like I can just try and work my hardest for this amount of time and then it's over and then I'm working and stuff. And if I work really hard during that time, like I won't regret doing that. I feel like, well, obviously there's a balance. Whereas I feel like if I kind of slacked off more and got to the end and went, wow, I could have done better or I could have achieved more, then I would have regretted that. And then you can't really do anything from that point. So I don't know. I think that's something that kind of drives me to push myself.
That's
and
true.
That kind of thing. Yeah.
That's awesome. When you were at uni, did you ever feel, I can't wait to get out of here? Or did you actually enjoy? I think you kind of hinted at this before.
Yeah, I think it pretty much was only towards the end of uni where I was starting to really feel burnt out, that I was like, yep, I'm ready for this to be over. So it was pretty good timing, I feel like, in that regard.
That's true. Okay.
You do kind of,
especially once you get exposure to industry.
Yeah.
Like that's what, because I did my internship obviously the year before, and so that was great. I loved it. Yeah. And then I'm like, oh, now I have to go back to uni.
Yeah. And so I mean, I do quite enjoy, uni and like watching lectures sometimes, but kind of like doing the problems and learning in that way, I quite enjoy. But yeah, I think it gets to a point where definitely after 5 years, you kind of go, I want something different, like different lifestyle, especially just with uni, especially like assignments and all that. I feel like you're constantly just taking that home. After you're at uni during the day and on weekends and that kind of thing. It's kind of just something constantly looming over you. Whereas I feel
so you had to do this as well, like us mere mortals.
Yes, I am immortal. I am,
So it was a lot of hours, like...
Yeah, for sure. Of course. I put a lot of time in it.
And you can tell.
It wasn't like a natural thing necessarily, I think.
Awesome. With first year, what's a piece of advice you think you would give back to yourself? I mean, obviously you finished 5 years.
Yeah.
What's something that you would like get on straight away when you went into uni in first year? Like now looking back.
Maybe joining some more of the clubs and that kind of thing. I feel like that's kind of almost a bit cliche because I feel like lots of people say that. But I do feel like you kind of get to the end of uni and you go like, oh, I don't know, I can't really do that anymore. That's all done now.
Hey, tell me, I started a company just so I could do that.
Well, yeah. So, I mean, I guess that's
that.
Another option. I don't know, even stuff like ski trip and that kind of thing that like Adelaide Uni does. I wish I'd gone on that. A mate and I were trying to sign up in 2020 and then like COVID hit. And so it was like,
do you think that would have, doing those clubs and everything would have impacted you academically at all? Or?
It's hard to say. I don't think so, because I feel like I'm pretty good at, if it does start to, I would maybe pull the plug potentially or that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think that's something maybe I would have said, I don't know, just chill out more in first year. I mean, I feel like you've got like 3 hours worth of lectures for a subject and that kind of thing. It's a bit more easygoing in first year. Yeah. Plus, do your grades in first year count to like weighted average mark?
No, not in weighted average mark.
But they do for GPA?
Yeah.
Okay, sure. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like take time to kind of just ease into it.
Yeah. So you didn't join any clubs at all?
I think I just joined, like, I was an AMS member in like AUES, but I wasn't like on the committee or anything. I just went to like some of the events and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I don't know, even stuff like, I don't know, the German club and that kind of thing. I feel like would have been, I didn't join that.
Oh, okay.
And I'm saying it would have been cool to
just to
kind of dive into that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So that does, I did remember my question from before. It was obviously, I was in the same cohort as you, and then I'm pretty close with Michael as well, and I've heard how his experience was. From the observation, you had a really good group of friends that also that everyone was kind of competitive and high achieving.
Yeah.
Was that accidental?
No, I wonder if it's just like, I mean, birds of a feather kind of thing. I don't know. I feel like, I mean, I met Michael and some of the others just in like my first electronics tute. We all just happened to sit at the same table. and then kind of became friends through that. And I feel like that's a cool thing about engineering. I mean, I've spoken with like people who do other kind of courses who talk about how they just don't meet anyone really in their course, or like hardly meet them. Whereas I feel like engineering is so social.
That was me.
What did you find that during engineering?
I didn't talk to Michael a single word until I finished uni.
Oh, but that's fine.
5 years.
You don't need to
together.
talk to Michael.
No, I'm
okay, so that's fine.
No, but like as an example, like I didn't have a single friend in engineering. All my friends were outside of engineering.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I had the opposite experience.
Yeah, right.
Uni,
Oh, that's so funny. I suppose I assumed that my experience was just everyone's experience.
No, I wish.
No.
And like what you said about joining clubs, like I go to the uni a lot now with Boeing and like sponsorship and everything. But that's the one thing I tell everyone.
Yeah.
It's like, go talk to people.
That's funny because I feel like what I was kind of saying before was that because engineering forces you into these tutes and that kind of thing where at the time it was like in-person mandatory. I don't know if it still is. And so you're kind of forced to interact with people. And I feel like that's how I met most of my friends through engineering was just because I had like a class or a tutorial with them. And then I feel like to survive in engineering, you need people to like work on stuff together with, otherwise you're not going to survive. So I feel like it kind of just necessitates, I don't know, talking to some people, I suppose.
I don't know how I survived because I didn't.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah, I'm surprised.
Well, I'll tell you the reason I didn't. But I've told Michael this before as well. This is just my personal story and why I didn't, but I'm sure people relate to this. And it's the fact that obviously I was able to observe the people that were doing well and the people that were always, getting the best marks and doing the best projects, like, Warman Challenge and things like that.
Yeah.
But I think the reason I personally didn't, approach people like that is because, I didn't believe in myself as much. So I had this big thought that, I'm not smart enough. I won't fit in. They're like on a different level. I just couldn't do it. But because I never talked to anyone, nothing was there to invalidate that opinion.
Yeah.
Until I actually got into working, and then I was really forced to talk to everyone. And then especially Michael was the keystone. I was like, okay, this guy I've observed for 5 years, that's like this super genius, always hangs out with that group. And I talked to him and he's like, oh, you're just like me.
Yeah, we're all idiots.
Yeah.
That's, that's
I was
pretty
like,
much the thing.
Why didn't I wasted 5 years because of that? Like, so this is
I
why
feel like I felt that way as well. I feel like all throughout uni, I was kind of looking at other people and I'm like, far out, like they are so smart, they're doing so well.
Yeah.
And that kind of thing. And it's definitely, I feel like you're always comparing yourself to other people and that kind of thing. I mean, I felt that as well, for sure.
Yeah, but now the mind shift shifts where now I tell people, go look for the smartest person, but don't be intimidated. Go hang out with them so you can learn from them. Like that's not a bad thing,
Yeah.
And like I've found that the people that do the best also are generally people that are willing to help the most as well. And so I mean that's what I would tell myself again. It's like just look out, be observant.
Yeah.
Find the smart group, be part of them. You're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, right? So
that's true.
if you want to be smarter, spend time with smarter people.
I don't know. I feel like I'm not the best socially in terms of just like approaching someone out of the blue. I feel like I really need to like that. That's why those tutorials and stuff were so good. I found because you're forced to talk with people and that kind of thing. Yeah. Which made me do that rather than. I don't know. I find it very hard to just go up to someone and chat with them. So, that was...
Really?
Yeah.
Do you think you've gotten better at that? Is that something you work on?
I think so. Do I work on it? I think it's just like naturally kind of progressed. Yeah. I don't know. I did like an exchange in Toronto in end of second year, and that kind of helped because you're all alone, and so you are kind of forced to talk with people. And like going off your regret thing, if you didn't, you would like you went all the way to Toronto and talked to no one. Imagine just like I don't know, being by yourself the whole time. That would be that wouldn't be fun.
No, exactly.
So like I met I did like some solo travel and that kind of thing, and so when you go to hostels and that kind of thing, you're kind of forced to interact with people and that kind of thing. Yeah.
So obviously going back to uni, we've got. So you did 5 years, obviously, and you kind of talked about it. Did you have like did you find that it was pretty level in terms of motivation and wanting to do engineering? Is it what you thought it was going to be, and like did the degree meet your expectations out of high school?
I think it didn't necessarily meet my expectations in that I think I kind of had the idea that it would be like you would be like Tony Stark or something and build an Iron Man suit. Whereas I feel like there's a lot more process and that kind of thing. And you're not as much kind of by yourself building, like, I don't know, inventing something. You're kind of part of a system and you interact with a lot of people, and you might be doing like only a very small part of a project and that kind of thing. And I feel like that kind of changed my perspective of it. I didn't necessarily have a realistic idea of what it was in the industry necessarily.
But at the end of it, what would you change about the degree that would better prepare you for what you've experienced of industry so far?
It's hard because I feel like I don't know how much they can necessarily teach you at uni when it's all very specific to whatever job you go into and that kind of thing. And there's always going to be learning for that. I think in terms of Adelaide Uni, I mean, it probably would have been good to have more practical side of stuff. I feel like maybe places like Uni SA get that a bit more. I don't know. It's kind of hard to say.
Yeah, okay.
Do you have any thoughts?
Yes, and like I've expressed them before. Well, I'll ask this question as a part of that. One thing that I've commonly keep hearing in industry and just from people in general is that like the benefit that an engineer has and what kind of the uni teaches you is not, yes, it teaches you a little bit about absolutely everything. But what the process teaches you is like how to think like an engineer. How would you define that statement? Like, how does an engineer think? Why does the process in which an engineer thinks makes them so special and so valuable in the workplace?
Putting me on the spot. It's like an interview question.
It is. Like
I don't know. I think you're kind of taught to take it from a more systematic approach, I suppose. I mean, it's almost like a systems thinking kind of thing, like taking a step back and understanding how does the problem fit within the context and trying to define it further rather than just diving into something. And I feel like stuff like mathematics and physics and all that kind of builds it because it's based off of set laws and that kind of thing. And so I feel like it kind of teaches that structured learning process. But that's just
Yeah, okay. No, fair enough.
Off the cuff thought, but
that's what we want.
Yeah.
Sure. So that's kind of what I was thinking as well.
Yeah.
And the reason I ask is because one of the things that we've come across while we're talking about a lot of this and got to do with how AI and technology is changing everything. To live in the world and to operate and to work, you almost now have to have a little bit of a technical mindset. And we are now seeing how beneficial that engineering mindset is in every role, even if you're not an engineer, to solve a problem with that systematic point of view. Obviously, we can't expect everyone to do a 5-year degree to learn that mindset.
Yeah.
But how do you think, like what specifically, like how could we teach people how to think like that without getting them to do a full degree, you know? I mean, like I'm not expecting a full answer, but what do you think?
It could just be encouraging more STEM in high school and primary school and that kind of thing. I mean, I feel like it is really through those maths and sciences that you kind of learn that approach. And I feel like an issue is, I mean, a lot of students, I mean, definitely when I was in high school and stuff, they just don't enjoy maths and physics and that kind of thing. I think that's because, well, maths especially, it can be hard to get a grasp of. And I feel like if you struggle early on in primary school and that kind of thing, you're never going to want to pick it up in high school and that kind of thing. I don't know. I almost wish there was more of a focus in primary school and that kind of thing. If it was taught really, really well for students who would then enjoy it more, I think then they would be more willing to go a bit further with it in high school. And I think that would kind of promote that way of thinking that you kind of brought up. So I think that probably would help the issue. I don't know. I've thought about it before in that, because I really enjoyed maths, and part of that was because I was reasonably good at it. Like it's within laws, like putting an equation together, it produces a single answer. It's not like English where, I don't know, I write something and I'm like, I have no idea if this is good or not.
Yeah.
It's all subjective. Well, I don't know. Maths can be subjective as well, but that's a different story. But definitely in those preliminary years, it's all very structured. And so I enjoyed that, and it made sense to me when I was learning it. But for a lot of other people, it's not necessarily that way.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I feel like if it was taught better, and so that people enjoyed it more, then I think it would be beneficial for society.
Sounds like you really enjoy the process of getting to the solution.
Well. I mean, I enjoy that kind of problem solving aspect in that it is a bit of a puzzle.
Yeah.
And you kind of learn the tools that you can use, like, you know, whether it's like subtracting, dividing, and then it goes to derivatives and all this kind of stuff. I really enjoy that process of like having an equation, looking at it and going, okay, what do I need to do here? And you kind of like think through all the tools that you have and being able to apply it to that. I find that really fun. Yeah. It's kind of like, I don't know, being a little detective almost, I think.
Absolutely.
With it.
It's a bit tough because I think I work better when the problem doesn't have a definitive solution.
Right, okay.
So the opposite of what you said.
So is that because you feel like you have more creative freedom or something?
I think so. Because then I can't be wrong.
Okay, yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I can
that's
be more
funny.
right.
I guess that's
wrong.
a different way of thinking about it, because I just see it as there are more ways for me to be wrong in English, but that's a good mindset. You know.
I mean, look, it's what I see in industry where, I don't know, the difference between academia and industry is that like industry would never work if everyone got to the finished perfect final answer, because everything would be too expensive.
Well, and it also doesn't really exist.
Yes.
So
you have to just be more right, as much right as you can.
Yeah, and I suppose
then deal with the wrong when it happens, you know?
Yeah. No, that's good. And I feel like you kind of gain an understanding when you get into industry and that kind of thing that you can stuff up and you can make mistakes. And because there isn't like one right answer, like, I don't know, people kind of just make their way towards something. I feel like that's, I don't know, I make the analogy of cooking in that I was pretty bad at cooking because I felt like, I don't know, I'm just gonna stuff it up. Like, I don't know, what heat setting do I need to put this on? Like, it says high, like how high? Like, what out of 9? I don't know. And all this kind of stuff. And then I think you realize after like cooking a little bit, you're like, oh, it doesn't really matter. Like, you just, I mean, as long as like the chicken is cooked and that kind of thing.
Directionally right.
Yeah, and like you get better as you go along and that kind of thing. Yeah. And I feel like that's, I don't know, it's similar in a career and that kind of thing, in that you realize that there's not so much pressure and that you are able to make mistakes, but there isn't like one right or wrong answer. Yeah. So
I'll bring it back to uni in a second, but I'm just curious because I know you go to the gym as well, but do you find it similar? Like how do you track at the gym? Are you a perfectionist in that sense as well?
I don't know. I haven't been going as much, unfortunately.
Sorry to call you out.
Yeah, I know.
But when you were, do you bring that perfectionist, data-driven
I do have like a little
to
Excel spreadsheet that I like track all my weights in. But I feel like, I don't know, I don't know, I just kind of try to like improve each time, I suppose.
Yeah. It's interesting to me that's like you're more loose with that compared to like academia, because it's like, in my head, you'd be like, I'm going to count every single calorie and every single...
I just feel like that's so much effort.
It is.
I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. It's hard to say. I feel like I do need to... Because I do a bit of running as well. And I feel like I do maybe need to take more of a structured approach and be like, plan out my meals for the week and that kind of thing. I don't know. I think I found that what I was doing was fine in that I was getting better, But
Yeah.
it definitely, the process probably could have been
Yeah.
optimized.
Well, I'm hearing a lot more people talk about this idea of being just directionally correct and attacking life that way. Because you end up going in the right direction. Yes, you might not go there as fast as someone or the most efficient way,
Yeah.
but the amount of the time and stress it takes to like get it 100% efficiently, it's not really worth
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, that kind of last 10%, is it worth it?
Exactly. And that mindset is so good when you go to industry, but then not so good when you're in uni.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's true.
Yeah. Sorry, I just took it on a bit of a
No,
tangent there.
that's good.
But so obviously, yeah, we talked a bit about uni. Going to the end of it, what about comparing mathematics to engineering? Which one did you more enjoy, and did you feel that you were naturally a bit?
Well, I think maybe the math side more, in that I feel like it was kind of, I think that they were taught quite well, I would say, the maths courses. I think they were very well structured. They had newer course notes and that kind of thing, which I feel like with engineering, sometimes some of the course notes would be like 20 years old potentially and that kind of thing. Yeah, I don't know. I think as well, again, it was kind of that more standard mathematical problems and that kind of thing, whereas engineering can be subjective as well, especially some of the more, systems subjects, and I'm not sure what else, like honours and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's a lot of report writing and that kind of thing, which to me takes a lot more time.
Yeah.
I feel like I have to think a lot more about like what I'm writing and go over that.
Oh, sure.
And
Okay.
that kind of thing. It takes more time for me,
okay.
which isn't necessarily as enjoyable.
Interesting. And talking about honours, I know that your team had the highest mark as well.
Oh,
Yeah, because I remember Michael going to an awards night. Is that right?
Yeah.
How did you find that honours year? Did you find the honours course enjoyable, and do you think the university prepared
pretty
you well for
enjoyable?
that?
It was pretty stressful for sure. Like that whole final year. I think I kind of talked about how towards the end I was pretty burnt out. I mean, it's good that you get to actually go onto a project and kind of dive into one thing. And I was so grateful for the group that I was in as well, because everyone was so switched on that it really felt like everyone was carrying their weight and that kind of thing. So it was really good from that perspective. I don't know. I mean, when I did it, they just transitioned from the like 3 course worth honours to 2.
Wait, you did it when it was 2?
Yep. So it was 2.
Oh, you did the year after me. Okay. Yeah, I was the last
so
year
you
to do
did it.
the 3.
Okay. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. Okay. So you had to put more work in for less credit.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know. I think they say that like you can reduce the scope,
Yeah.
but whether that necessarily happens,
Yeah.
we at least got rid of all the like random reflections and kind of
Okay.
things. So that
I
was
see.
nice.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Cool. So with this whole journey of becoming valedictorian, you laugh every time I say it.
Yeah.
Is it something you ever like was aiming for? Like, were you competitively like, this is something I wanted to get out of
I
it?
think I had like, I don't know, maybe a pipe dream earlier on. I was like, wow, like I'm doing, I think when those that first semester, first year results came out, and I was like, oh, I did pretty well. Like that's
First
good.
semester, first ever grades. Yeah.
Yeah, at uni. I was like, okay, maybe I can keep that trend going.
Yeah.
So I think, I don't know, I kind of felt like at the start, I don't know, that would be cool, but I didn't really think of it as a possibility at all. And definitely towards the end of uni, I think I was trying to see how well I could go and that kind of thing, especially, I don't know, trying to aim for it out of like my major of aerospace and that kind of thing. That's kind of what I was aiming for, to try and get that. And so I didn't really expect to get valedictorian, which doesn't mean I got the top mark right away. I think it's like...
Yeah, so could you explain what that means?
Yeah, so I didn't get a definition or anything. I just got asked to be it. But from my understanding, because if you get some of the top marks, usually you get like a university medal.
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of like you're not quite there, you're a bit below that. And so I don't know if they kind
so
of...
you didn't get a university medal?
No, I didn't. No, so you can't get both.
Oh,
of
sure.
thing.
Okay,
So
I see.
I think, the valedictorian is, I don't know, maybe
It's
just a
like
bit
more like a
below that.
well-rounded yet. Still,
Maybe.
yeah.
I don't know. They never told me. So,
Wow. So how
yeah.
did that go? Like, how did you find out?
I just got like an email.
Really?
Which was nice. I was
Nobody
like,
came to you and were like, congratulations.
no
bottle
one's
of
going to
wine.
like knock on the door and be like, you've been chosen kind of thing. No, I just got an email saying like, oh, you've been, I don't know, given the honor or something, but you've, I don't know, been asked if you to be valedictorian and that kind of thing, and then you get to
You could say no.
do a speech. You could say no, yeah, for sure.
Oh,
and then I
okay.
think they would ask someone else. I
Yeah,
guess. So,
okay.
Yeah.
And so you had to do the speech for the graduation ceremony?
Yeah.
Was that nerve-wracking at all?
Yeah, that was really stressful.
Or- Yeah.
I think even on like the weeks leading up and that kind of thing, I was stressing so much about what I had to write and that kind of thing. It's really hard. It's
Yeah,
a lot
'cause
of pressure.
It is a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
No,
And then-
I thought you did a really good job though.
Oh, thank you. That's
Yeah.
very nice. Yeah, it's hard to try and find. Well, I don't know. It's hard to find a balance of, I don't know, how like funny you try to make it, how reminiscent and that kind of thing. I don't know. I tried to just avoid
Yeah.
cliches with it and kind of be as personable as possible.
So I wanted to ask, so obviously we've talked about university and how that journey's been for you. What about like finding a job afterwards, or even like finding an internship? How did you approach going into that? And
Yeah, I guess I just looked on like the Adelaide Career Hub kind of thing and would just look at internships and that kind of thing through that. I don't know. I feel like I applied for quite a few at the start, but didn't really get offered many. Funnily enough, I think because it's not like I really had much experience. I suppose. I mean, not many people
but no
do,
one-
but some people do have like, I don't know, they were in some build challenge and that kind of thing, or they'd had all that
sure.
kind of experience, whereas I hadn't. But I ended up getting a placement at DSTG for like a
Yeah.
summer vacation.
did you do that with Michael at the same time? 'Cause I know you did that as well.
Was it at the same? I think it was at the same time. He might have been on the like cadetship already.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, so that was pretty fun because you kind of just get to do like a little mini research project. So I was doing like sonar stuff and like some signal processing. So that was pretty fun. But yeah, I mean, I feel like you kind of just apply for whatever you can see out there and just go for that. I mean,
so that's what you did your internship with DSTG?
yeah, I think I applied for maybe like 3 or 4 places, and that was the one that I got in, to be
Yeah,
honest. So that
fair
was
Was that paid?
good. Yep. Yeah.
That's so good.
Is most paid or unpaid? Like, do you know?
It's tough.
I suppose it depends.
If you're good, most is paid.
right, okay.
But as in bigger companies, generally, most is paid. I know some are not paid. Infamously, Sage Automation is not paid.
Right, okay.
That's one of like the big ones that's not paid. If
Yeah,
you go to
right.
like a startup or
It's great advertisement.
no,
for Sage.
no, it's very everyone knows.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know if it's paid now, but infamously, it's been unpaid
Right.
before. But if you go to startup, obviously they don't have any money. And
Yeah,
a lot of
it's kind of
even
fair.
medium companies, some of them don't.
Yeah.
But everything I've heard is paid. I mean, we're very lucky compared to like people that study medicine or
Yeah,
in the
for
medical industry
sure.
where
I
they
feel
have to
like,
go a whole year.
well, especially now, I feel like everyone just wants
Yeah.
engineers and that kind of thing. I mean, I don't know. I feel like maybe I could have applied for more back then. I feel like I was reasonably selective with which companies and like roles and that kind of
Yeah.
thing. Yeah, I think it's literally just kind of
yeah,
like
fair enough.
setting your net out and,
Yeah.
and seeing what you.
And
yeah.
so after internship, you did honors, obviously. And then what about? So you worked at BA before this.
Yeah.
Going to graduate program.
Yeah,
How
I
was
mean,
that
I did
process?
do more work at DST as well because I got the like cadetship thing, applied
okay.
for that. So that was good during final year use, like getting some work as well during.
Oh,
that
okay. So you're
time.
doing honors and cadetship at the same time.
Yeah, but it was only during like holidays.
Oh, okay.
And that kind of thing. So that was it was pretty good in that regard. But yeah, and then got a graduate role with BAE Systems. I mean, I think, again, with that, I didn't necessarily apply for many grad roles, and I think that's because I was intending on staying at DSTG for like a bit longer, but I kind of decided late in the year that I kind of wanted to try industry and that kind of thing, which meant that I hadn't really applied for many graduate roles or that kind of thing. So yeah, BAE was one of the like few that I could have kind of gone to.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
and got into that.
Why did you choose BAE? As in like defense and that industry?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I was just keen more to try outside of government and see what it's like in industry. Obviously, it's quite different. I think I was always pretty keen on defense at that point because you get to do some interesting things and that kind of thing. I mean, it's like some of the high tech and that kind of stuff. You get to work on interesting projects for the most part. Yeah, and I think I'd heard good things about BAE Systems and stuff, so I kind of just
fair enough
went with that. Yeah.
I don't want to ask too many questions to pry into it. So.
Yeah, that's right. I mean,
like, how was your experience? Did you?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I mean, the reason I ended up leaving was because like I entered as a graduate systems engineer, and I'm just not as into systems engineering. And I mean, like, yeah, I've spoken so much about maths that it's like that's kind of what I wanted to try and get into, and they didn't necessarily like have that as much there. Like the people were lovely and that kind of thing, and I'm not just saying that. But
that's great.
Yeah, so it was purely just because that wasn't the kind of work that I wanted to do.
And where do you work now?
So I work for a company called Horizon. So they do some defense stuff, but also some enterprise stuff, which is kind of, I suppose, a mix of different types of work. But they do a lot of data science and machine learning and AI and that kind of thing. And so I've joined as like a graduate data scientist there. Yeah. Trying to find more of that math side of things. So,
and is that what you've been promised or like expecting? That
I mean, I've just been like programming in Python, which is fun and a lot better than writing documents and that kind of thing. Yeah. I don't know. So yeah, it's good to have that kind of
That's
change.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah. And obviously we talked about your expectation of uni from high school. What about your expectation of industry through uni? Like, is when you got into engineering and got through engineering in uni and heard about industry, is what did not meet your expectations or surprised you or about the real world?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it was some of the things that we had touched on earlier in that like there is a bit less pressure and that kind of thing. Well, I suppose it depends what role you take, but I found it was less pressure and like everyone understands that when you join as a grad, like you're a grad and they're not expecting you to like become CEO in a month or something like that. So they're pretty happy for you to learn and that kind of thing and build up your understanding. And I think if they're not, that's probably the sign of maybe not as good a company if they're not willing to accommodate you in that regard.
Let you make mistakes.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like, so you kind of, realize that you don't have to be an expert and you can kind of learn in that regard.
Relax for the first time since you're 10.
Well, yeah, it's nice. It's nice to go home on the weekend and be like, I don't have to do uni work and that kind of thing. Yeah. But some people decide to start companies and organizations and then take up their time. So
some people don't like being bored.
Yeah, exactly.
No. So what's obviously you talked about the fact that during uni you had that internal motivation to kind of and competition, even though you don't even know who you're competing against, but
I know.
Competing against everyone to kind of do really well. What's motivating you now that it's over?
Yeah, I think...
Sorry, before you continue, one thing I've heard a lot recently is that that whole aspect is really easy in uni because everything's measurable. Everything, you have grades, data of how you're doing. In, again, graduate position, in the real world, not everything is measured.
Yeah.
It's very subjective on like how are you doing. You can't really compare yourself to everyone.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Sorry, keep going.
I think. Yeah, I feel like I kind of struggled with that a little bit. In that, I mean, especially because I wasn't necessarily enjoying the role as much of being a systems engineer, and no like insult to actual systems engineers and that kind of thing. I think, yeah, if you enjoy it, then that's great. But I just didn't necessarily. But I think I found, because I wasn't necessarily enjoying the role, that I was therefore in a bit of a limbo trying to figure out like, okay, if I don't enjoy this, like what kind of career path should I take, and like what roles would I really enjoy and that kind of thing. So I feel like that's kind of what has been at the front of my mind more so lately, and especially for the past year, rather than like trying to compete and be the best. I think, I don't know, maybe that competitive drive and that kind of thing will come back once I am in the field and I'm really enjoying it. Then maybe I don't know, look, I would want to try and improve myself as much in that area and learn as much. But it's kind of hard to do that when you're maybe not enjoying the role as much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I was maybe, I think I was a bit burnt out after uni as well. So I think last year was probably more of a relaxed year for me, I would say. So
that's good.
Yeah.
And oftentimes people getting into that first year of a graduate program or first year out of uni is kind of the first time in your whole life actually that you are not following you're not walking a path that everyone has walked on and everyone has to walk on, you know? And obviously you can choose to drop out early from high school and you can choose to not go to university, but even then, but because you haven't, there's still a lot of people that walk the same path as you, but now you have like the true freedom kind of.
Yeah.
And engineering is one of those degrees as well. It's not like dentistry, for example, where, okay, all right, it's pretty easy.
I will be a dentist, yes.
An engineering degree will get you like anywhere.
Yeah.
And you're not even fixed to a location. Your degree is valid anywhere in the world. So now with all this freedom of choice, how do you navigate that and go, okay, this is what I want to do, where I want to be?
Yeah, it's really hard. I think I'm still figuring that out, to be honest. I feel like I don't know, I kind of said in the speech or whatever that I did, like kind of just to take it one step at a time, it seems like to me. I mean, if you have that like vision where you're 10 years old and you already know what you want to do, that's great, you can work to that. But if you're still trying to figure that out, I feel like it's always kind of just looking at what is that next step and like what do I think is the best for me in that regard. Not necessarily looking like 5 years ahead. I think just looking for that next thing and trying to make the best decision in that regard is kind of what the focus should be. At least that's what, that's what I think, at least. And then
how do you prepare for that? Like, how do you put yourself in a mindset that you can accept those opportunities as they come?
Yeah, it's hard. I think I'm still
figuring it out.
Figure that out. I don't know. I think at some point you've just got to make a decision, I suppose, and commit to it. Better to make a decision and like kind of make a mistake than to not do anything at all, I feel like.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really hard.
Yeah. Do you feel that there is pressure from society to move at a certain speed in terms of... Are you on social media a lot?
No, I'm not.
Yeah,
really.
that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really look at like Instagram and Facebook and that kind of thing, which is nice, I've found. I don't know.
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I'm generalizing here, but there are a lot of young girls that struggle with like eating disorders because of social media and kind of that expectation, that false reality that it sets in. And analogous to that, you can say that a lot of young men struggle with social media, with the fact that, you know, you have to be a millionaire by the time you're 22.
Yeah.
You know, but obviously you seem to be enjoying life without it, and it sounds like...
Yeah, am I? No, I don't know. I feel like there's no point trying to like, I don't know. It's
No,
it's
you
really
have the
hard to
correct
say.
answer. It's just that, it's tough. Why aren't you on social media? Just don't.
I just don't enjoy it, I suppose. I don't know. I feel like you get so much like just content thrown at you. And a lot of it's all like the same and that kind of thing. And I don't know. I just
Speaking facts,
can't really
man,
be bothered. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd rather just read a book or something. It's good.
Fair enough. I mean, look, I would love to be there. I don't know what stops me. I mean, you could argue that social engineering, like these companies have people that are being paid a lot of money to try to capture your attention.
Yeah.
That's their objective, right? To steal your time, essentially. But it's great to see that you, and I mean the sense that I'm getting from speaking to you is that you, like you said, you're not in a huge rush to get anywhere in particular. You,
I don't know. I feel like
seem very grateful with what you have, and
I mean, I feel like achieving what I did at university, I was pretty happy with that and content in that regard. I think I am starting to get a bit antsy, I suppose, in that I feel like, I don't know, what am I doing at the moment? Like I'm not really, I don't know, making leaps and bounds and that kind of thing. I don't know. I feel like, I suppose you only have one life, and so you kind of want to get as much done with it that you can. I don't know.
Wow, there you go.
It's hard.
What I'm hearing a lot is that you really, and I said this before, you're very, very much addicted to the process. Yeah. And do you set goals in terms of like what the result you actually want to expect out of it is, or like a dream, you know?
I haven't,
I mean, cancer.
No. It's, I really want to try and do a PhD in the future and try and do one overseas. That's a bit of a dream for me at the moment.
Overseas?
It's just quite hard to get scholarships and that kind of thing. Because obviously, it can be expensive.
Wow, the fact that you think it's hard to get scholarships means no one else has any hope.
No. Yes, you do. Everyone has hope. So that's kind of a dream for me at the moment.
It's funny that like you really just solidified the point I was making, because I said, I said, you're addicted to the process. Do you have any results? And you said, I want to do a PhD, which is just another process.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. Maybe I mean, it's I want that mindset. University, system again. Yeah. Maybe I'm having withdrawals. I don't know. Yeah. No, I think...
I didn't even enjoy university, and I got out and I'm like, wow, I miss it.
Yeah, really? Okay. Yeah, that's so funny.
I really wanted to go back and just... I wish I could just do it more socially, do it with friends and like... Yeah. I mean, I do it because I now like take it for granted how good of an opportunity that was, and really something you only get for a couple of years, you know, unless you want to... I can't go back and do a Bachelor of Engineering. Like, what's the point of that?
Yeah, you kind of need to go do a bit of further study.
Exactly. But yeah, wow. In terms of, obviously, we have a lot of people watching this that are probably going through university right now. And you knew this question was coming. Going through university right now and want to do well. I've met some people, I'm not going to name them, that are like in second year. They're like, yeah, you know what? I'm on track to do this.
Okay, cool.
Like my goal is to become valedictorian. I'm on track. But like just as a general person that's at uni and that wants to do better and wants to do well, what kind of advice would you give them based on your personal experience?
Yeah, I feel like we kind of touched on it in that I feel like you do need friends in engineering and that kind of thing that you can talk with and like work together and that kind of thing. I don't think I would have survived university without it. And that always helped, having like another perspective and being able to work together on things. I think that's a really big thing. I don't know, I think people should also talk to like lecturers and tutors more. Yeah. I feel like that's kind of a hot tip in that, especially towards exam time. If you go to those revision sessions, you can pretty much ask them like I don't know. You have to be smart about it.
Okay.
I feel like I would ask questions to some of the tutors and I'd be like, oh, like I'm really not sure how to describe this thing or approach this problem. And either they'll really work with it with you, or they'll be like, oh, I wouldn't really worry about that question and that kind of thing. So to be honest, I would like, and even with assignments and that kind of thing, usually, I mean, lecturers and stuff are going to hate me, but like just go up to them. They're usually really happy to help and that kind of thing. And I mean, that will help with your marks and stuff like that.
That's so true. For some reason in my head, I thought they're not going to give me the answer.
No, but if you work hard enough, if you're sneaky enough, you can kind of like edge your way towards it almost.
Yeah.
I don't know. I found like going to those revision sessions and that kind of thing, that always helped so much.
Yeah.
Because you gain a real insight into what
Yeah.
you're going to be tested on and that kind of thing.
Yeah. I think that's good advice, because I didn't do that. And I wish I did as well. That's a really good point. I don't know. Tutors and lecturers were just intimidating to me.
Yeah. I don't know. You've just got to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I was annoying enough that I would ask them.
Yeah.
So
did you have a good relationship with a lot of them at the end of it?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really see them that much outside.
Oh, okay.
It's not like I was, having private sessions with them or anything like that. No, I don't know. I think most of them are pretty happy to help though. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, that's a big tip of mine.
That's awesome. Look, you've done a lot, and you've achieved a really remarkable feat in engineering. That's very inspirational. Is that your phone?
Yeah, I think so. Just ignore that.
Okay, no, that's fine. And like, I wanted to say again a huge thank you for coming in, having a chat.
No, thank you for having me.
Because I've learnt a lot, and I know that obviously everything you said was maybe things that I already knew I had to do, but hearing it from someone and hearing from their personal experience and the fact that it kind of works, I think a lot of people are going to really enjoy and take something out of it. So.
I think a big part of it is just kind of getting over what we touched on before, in that like comparing yourself to others and thinking that you're never going to be able to get that. Like there are people so much smarter than you. Like I thought that as well, and I feel like that's just a mindset. And when you realize that everyone is an idiot pretty much, we're all just trying to get through, fumble our way through. I don't know, it's a lot more motivating in that regard.
Yeah, that's so true. Before we close off, actually, I had one more question, which is something we usually ask, and it's, who is a local role model to you? So not someone that's famous that everyone knows, but who's someone in your life that you've kind of looked up to, whether it's university or outside of that you want to put yourself in their shoes, sometimes in your life?
I don't know. I think I've spoken about Michael before. I mean, I find him pretty motivating, and you as well. Because I feel like you guys like get so much done. Well, I mean, especially Michael, because I know him better. I see what he does and how he going through medicine and that kind of thing, working a full-time job, doing DEXA, doing like all these extracurricular things. And I've kind of mentioned that to him before, in that he seems to be able to do all that stuff, but he also will always have time to like help someone out or have a chat and that kind of thing. He's very charitable and giving in that regard. And I think that's something that I can lack sometimes is putting that time aside and kind of taking yourself out of the moment of what you're doing and that kind of thing. So that's...
It's amazing. Michael seems to like create time somehow.
I really don't want to like, I don't know, blow Michael's horn. So but anyway.
No.
I guess I've said it now.
There you go, you said it now. But no, there you go. Thank you. Well, as I was saying before, a huge thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
And I hope we can, I'm excited to see what kind of work you get to do at
Horizon. We'll see. Hopefully.
And I hope you enjoy it as well. And it's what you were looking for with the maths and that intensive work as well. And maybe even a PhD. That's really exciting.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Awesome. Thank you, Ben.
Awesome. Thank you very much.